I'm Madelaine Hanson, and welcome to a show that was filmed on a potato. It won't be in future, I do know videographers, I will sort it, but thank you for your patience. I hope these 4 pixels you can see give you some idea of what's going on. So today I thought we'd talk about something that I find really interesting, which is whenever I see a photo of a woman online, and she could be unbelievably beautiful, she could be a model, she could be stunning, or she could be normal looking and just an average woman going about her day. If you go to the comments section, there will always be someone from the manosphere or incel realm who's saying something like this. You look like a man. You look mannish. That's a transgender person. Obviously trans. Man face. And it's really interesting because I look at these women and that's not even like a slight assumption in my head. That's not something I'm thinking about. That's not something that would ever register to me as obvious. And then recently when I started talking about feminism and the manosphere and things like that, suddenly I was getting the same comments and they were saying, you look like a man. And that's interesting. So do I look like a man? Do they think I look like a man? And if so, why? And I thought that would be fun to unpack today. So, why do incels say women look like men online? Yes. 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 But also, no. Not just that. Shall we? So the first thing to understand is this. They're not comparing your face or a woman's face to a real face. They're comparing it to an imagined face of a woman. And the reason they do this is because they don't have a lot of contact with real women. These are people who are quite lonely, quite isolated. Maybe they have some kind of impairment or some kind of disability or some kind of personality trait that makes them quite isolated. That happens. So what happens is, whereas you and me will look at a woman's face and be like, that is a normal face for a woman to have, they're not thinking like that. They're thinking about your face as a series of objects to reconstruct onto what they map as a woman's face. So you might look at my face and say, okay, yeah, that's a typical cis woman. But for them, they're comparing my face with this. And let's just map out why this can fall into uncanny valley territory and potentially even like paedophilic vibes. But yeah, let's unpack it. So my face, pretty standard. I wouldn't say anything unusual happens when I walk down the street. Nobody points and stares. Nobody ridicules me. I haven't really faced any criticism for my appearance in a serious way since I was in school, so I gather I must be well within the realms of normal, just off my own anecdotal experience. But for them, it's like a series of flaws. So my face should look like that face. But if you actually put my face into these metrics, it doesn't, I think, look better. I think it looks different and a little bit uncanny. But for them, that's what beauty is, because they're not really assessing what attractiveness is or even what real is. They're assessing you against this weird extreme. So let's look at what these are. So this could be large eyes, tiny nose, short mid-face, high neoteny, plush lips, hairless skin, no pores, no fatigue, no seriousness, no adulthood. So yeah, if we're talking about who they're comparing us with, it's porn performers, it's anime girls, it's Instagram filters, it's face app sides, and yeah, what they call your prime fertility markers, which is so stupid. I actually struggle to have words, but yeah, that's what they're looking at. So you're not a human being, you're a series of markers for them, and that's why they have such a totally off skewed view of the world. And that's why they have such a totally off skewed view of your face and your gender potentially. But is there any science that's like true behind what they're saying? Like they can't have got it that wrong. Like no one's that stupid, surely, right? It's called My Heating's Not Working code. I promise you this isn't real fair. But anyway, let's go back to what we're talking about. So incels love using science. They love science. Science is a god to them because it gives order and facts and something incredibly complex and emotional and messy like human relations. And I get it. You know what? I did a BSc myself. Science is comforting. But the issue is you're not using science correctly. You're applying what you really desperately want to be true onto a few very small and often very, very controversial studies. So, okay, let's go for one of their favourites, which is you must have high testosterone because you have sharp features. Now, this is bollocks. It's complete bullshit. What you're relying on is endocrinological studies who look at the phenotypes of people with very severe disorders. Now, this isn't someone who is quite a sort of chiseled jawline as a woman. This is someone who has like extreme health problems and complications and might have a massive knock-on on their fertility, but you're applying it population-wide because that study means so much to you to explain why somebody is ugly and someone is not, because having a hard boundary like that would make so much sense if humans had just evolved to dislike the feature you dislike, and that was absolute. And then they apply things, and this is going to sound so crazy to somebody who is not an incel, so I apologise, but they'll say things like modern women are evolving to be more masculine, and this can be shown in our features and the way we talk and our interests, and this is why men don't want to have relationships with women because we've evolved to be masculine due to feminism and things like that. And they'll look at like faces across time and they'll try and use this to prove something, but they don't realise faces historically were edited very, very heavily to meet a perfect soft feminine ideal. Women nowadays, we have better diets, we have better gym, we're taller. There's lots of environmental and epigenetic factors that make us look different to how we are. Simple things like makeup. Now I can guarantee you a woman without contouring has that softness you're looking for, and that would show up in photos of women pre-makeup. Or things like height. Now I'm quite tall, I'll accept that, I'm 5'8". But that's not because I've evolved away from anything, that's because I've had a higher protein diet. And once you know things like this, a lot of incel science just collapses. And when you're looking at a baseline of perfect elfin manga women, yeah, your perception of gender is going to change. So when they're talking about someone looking like a man or behaving like a man, what they actually mean is, I don't know what a real woman is like, and I don't like what a real woman is in this age, and yeah, that distorts it quite a lot.